tense. And the storytelling of these reported columns are great to read even a century later.
Is this the type of thing where you have to do it now because this is a medium that's dying?
No, but I think it is a time to really reflect on the great newspaper culture and what's different and what continues. All these writers, whether it's Jimmy Breslin, Mike Royko, Murray Kempton, they wrote a classic reported column. That's something we've seen with the rise of opinion online. The reported column has been declining a bit. You see the importance of storytelling, of bringing out great characters and great conflicts. And then when that instinct and that impulse and that artistry combines with a historic moment, you've got something that will endure throughout the ages.
John Berman asks an interesting question when he talks about the medium dying. You work for Newsweek and the Daily Beast as well as CNN. Do you think that these columns and the sense of permanency they used to have in the printed edition of newspapers are being lost now that they exist exclusively online? Is there something lost there?
Not necessarily. I mean, in theory, having these columns online means they're more accessible than ever before. But what's amazing about these columns is many of them aren't available online. These had been moldering in microfilm. One of the columns in the book is The Cinderella Man by Damon Runyon. It had inspired the movie Cinderella Man about James J. Braddock. The Boxing Hall of Fame didn't even have this column. The producers of the movie didn't have the column. We found it in the New York Public Library. And so we're actually rescuing some of these columns to actually increase their relevance and make them more accessible than ever before. That's been part of the joy.
I'm such a fan of the late Nora Ephron, and I actually immediately turned to her column when she was an intern at the JFK White House, and it was this hysterical column. Do you have a favorite?
God, I have so many favorites. The Efron's great, where she's wondering how come JFK didn't hit on me.
Exactly.
That's phenomenal. I love The Cinderella Man. Mike Royko reflecting on Jackie Robinson's debut is great. There's a column called The Subway Rebel by an obscure columnist everyone's forgotten about, a guy who basically pulls a Bartleby and refuses to get off a subway train until it's brought to his destination. He says, "I am not a sheep." 1926. What's amazing is how the best writers, whether it's Westbrook Pegler, Murray Kempton, Jimmy Breslin, who's still with us, their writing is still so relevant, and it really is an inspiration and an education, not just for writers but readers.
I see you quote Breslin all the time here, and I hadn't seen this quote before I saw it in this book here. I just want to read it. He's talking about a lesser-known American hero, a guy named Joel Mayo, who was a flight engineer killed on the way to rescue the Iran hostages, or try to rescue the Iran hostages in 1980. The essay focuses on his wife Pamela. Let me read you a quote here, because this just kind of breaks your heart. He writes, "There was no reason to ask him where he was going. She was a military wife, and she knew that she was supposed to say nothing. At the same time, it was plain that it was Iran. The only way to snatch the hostages was by air. Buck kissed her goodbye. During the kiss, the notion ran through her head that he would die. The kiss in front of the 1969 car became one of the most horrible moments of her life."
That really captures the quality of these columns, and that's why it is so important that we kind of preserve them in a way that makes them accessible again. You realize the possibility of the reported column again, the storytelling possibility, and that this endures beyond any particular news cycle. This is a labor of love, and I love this book, and I can say that because it's not my writing.